that it's starting to get to that point because we're starting to see it played across Europe and North America pretty regularly in best of threes. So we'll be able to sort of etch out how it plays on both sides of the ocean. Because in North America, I'd say this map is attack-sided, but from what we've seen here, maybe more towards the D side sometimes.
Yeah, well, having a quick look at some of that agent selection, I have to point out that Hip playing the Reyna. He played it on Split yesterday as well, really feeling like that agent might be the difference maker. And we talked a little bit about our theory crafting when Reyna first came out, the quadruple flash meta. I think all Reyna has done is give more space, in addition to some of the Omen changes, give more space to 2 flashers, which has created a bit of an easier opportunity for some of the attack to push in. They can flash, they can flash, they can flash, and with Breach, you've got tons, right? So Reyna, of course, has a couple on her tool belt as well. But unfortunately, as you push mid, Lucker is going to come in from behind, open up with a headshot onto Artis. Now it's the 4v5 push onto B.
They've got B site controllers, so they think. Rhyme is still here in position, able to spot 2 on the push as well. So great defense coming out from NIP to kick things off here in the first half. On Ascent, Mixwell right around the corner. Hip makes quick work of him. It's all up to David P. The only kill on the round prevents it from being a flawless pistol victory for NIP.
I like the read there from Lucker. Pushing up by Catwalk and finding that Artis was caught in the Owl drone. Quite honestly, I know that pistols can sometimes be a little bit more risk-induced. Teams want to take a little bit more of a risk, whereas I like this boost. It's actually just used to get the camera, I think, high enough to look through the bars into the fish market. I don't think that's something I've ever seen, especially on a map like Ascent, and that makes a whole lot of sense. Wow, that is...
Yeah, I've seen this camera before. I think we saw it in the Pulse Invitational, and I've actually seen it in my own personal play. It's not actually one that I even use as someone who plays Cypher, but it is really good to spot them pushing in aggressively. But it is a known camera spot. It's just a little bit further out of vision, so you don't necessarily look towards it. The dart's going to give away the position of Pit around the corner. Fearoth with the SMG at least drops one more before Mixwell goes on a tear with the Marshall of all things. They're going to hear the jumps up on top of the box from the Sage. It's a free kill coming in for Kriya. Taps on the orb to try and bait Mixwell out of position. Mixwell will start to swing wider and wider and now back behind the box. Walks right over the spike but doesn't pick it up. That's unfortunate as Kriya is there with the final kill on the round. So the aggressive play on Long A initially resulted in some bloodshed, but NIP end up coming out on top.
So now we'll see G2 with, of course, the gun round coming into that third round now. You know, having a quick look at the grand final of the Vitality Open, we saw bits and pieces of NIP really struggle against G2. And in fact, it was G2 on attack that were just on an absolute tear. But I have a feeling that we're going to see a completely different look from NIP, and we've been seeing it, quite frankly, all tournament long. How successful they've been playing. Yep, going to be dealt with by Mixwell. A couple of shots with the Phantom. Of course, the gun round going to be favoring the firepower. Hip unfortunately had, I think, just a Spectre in his hand. But now the 4v5, it is G2 looking for an opportunity as they rotate towards the middle.
Fearoth back in spawn, watching for the mid push to come through. The door does get shut over on the B site. That'll deny access to the site, if only for a moment, much like the Sage Wall, easily broken on the take, should they decide to. They're going to go ahead and work their way in through short through the tree room. Nice move to shoot out the window to potentially scare them into keeping their eyes on their back. Rhyme from inside Hell, able to take out one before falling to David P. Fearoth there with the swing as well from Heaven on the Bulldog. It'll work out initially. The wall comes in to try and slow them down, but the wall gets chiseled away by NIP. Lucker tried to go through the window to take the challenge towards short and tree room. Doesn't work out so well for him as Petit Tech is right around the corner. And it'll come down to 2 now on NIP. It'll be Fearoth and Kriya. Over the top of the smoke goes the Owl drone, but it doesn't matter. David P sneaks inside that dark cover and will get the last 2 on the round. And G2 strike with the first buy round, finding success.
So now this is where we're going to begin to see how NIP put the pieces together. How are they going to deal with G2? And how this attack side for G2 will start to pan out. They still have the weaponry online. We are seeing a couple of bits and pieces for NIP start to come through. Specifically to note, Lucker with the operator and already starting to set up shop here in the middle. Unfortunately for Lucker, none of G2 is quite there yet. Jiggle jump peek from David P. Tries to see if anyone's going to be having an early look towards the catwalk, and not going to be the case. The flash from Hip, but that Lear will come up relatively empty-handed, as well as the Paranoia. Mixwell holding close near and outside the fish market as now the Owl drone will start to scout out who exactly was trying to push up. And the Omen smokes might give away a lot of that information as now G2 have an opportunity. It's Mixwell that pushes up very aggressively and finds Kriya. All down to Hip now left on the site. The rest of the team with a heavy stack towards the A site. Unfortunately, the wrong read here for Nip. The wall goes up, and the push is just about to commence with 50 seconds left.
Deep smoke coming out from the Omen as well. Try and section off spawn. See, Lucker is using his wall yet again, something we've seen him do time and time again in the past to try and peek up over top of it. So that won't be there for them if they decide to push towards this B site, and he wants to slow it down. Now, like you said, though, it's not actually a B take. It's just a bit of a ruse. So unfortunately for NIP, the spike is going over towards the A site, and that Paranoia towards short does kind of give that away. So they start moving out towards this A site. There's only going to be one here to try and play defense. It'll be the Cypher. The rest of the team pretty far away from the play, and it actually looks like NIP is posturing for a save here, calling for it immediately before the spike even gets planted. Rhyme was too far gone on the play to try and go for it, so he tries to deny the plant, but it's not going to happen. Does he get executed on the attempt to escape? They might think David P is in position to take out that player on the rotate, and in fact he is. Just checks the wrong side, was watching more towards back market and pizza. Doesn't anticipate him to be sitting barrels, so 3 players will hopefully survive here from NIP. They're trying to save on the B site if they can.
Lucker here with the operator. We'll see David P on the opposite side. Walks right into the crosshair, and that'll be David P sent down to the graveyard. The rest of G2, they're not full quite yet on the round. Still looking for another snack to top them off. They'll see one on the site. Recon Bolt, I think, will spot out Artist, and now having to retreat. And they'll just not even bother with the engagement. G2 now tying us up 2-2 as we have a look at something that looks quite delicious. Steaming hot pizza, fresh. It's permanently fresh, actually, for the rest of time.
Dude,
it looks amazing. It looks amazing.
This observer is really testing me. First it was the cheeses earlier. Now it's the pizza. Oh, I'm starving over here, man. What are you trying to do to me?
Yeah, I feel it. I feel it. And that pizza looks great, too. There's also a gelato shop. He did show the cheese from the gelato shop, but did not show the gelato itself. So, Observer, going to need to see a little bit of gelato in some of the upcoming rounds. But looking at the round ahead, round number... Oh, okay. All right.
Well, and to be fair, the cheese is not from the gelato shop. That would be an odd thing to have. It'd be from the delicatessen. So the deli has the cheeses. I can live without gelato. Cheese, that's like a different one altogether.
Oh, Lucker! Close, but that cigar will not be in his hands. It's another shot here from Fearoth to seal the deal, but as he rotates through, trying to get a little bit more information, it's Mixwell that'll be his demise, as now the door is closed and Mixwell separated from the rest of his team. Fortunately for him, NIP playing a little bit closer towards the defender spawn as things are starting to spiral out of control for them. And the round likely going to G2 once again, and that'll give them the lead. But at least NIP win the pistol. They win the round to follow. But now G2 are officially online and can start their dominance. We'll see how that will carry forward in the rounds to come. But considering how NIP's already saved one round after another, they're giving a lot of respect to G2 on Ascent.
Yet another save coming out from NIP. As again, the round does not go their direction. This time, David P dies before the round's over. Whereas last time, it felt like we would see some fatalities potentially towards the end. G2 not really having too much difficulty once the buy round came through in dealing with the defense that NIP has put out. How do they try and round out this buy? I'm kind of curious what this is going to look like. You can see them currently talking it over in spawn, trying to figure things out. And they might even be going for like a player position shift, so swapping some agents around. Again, you talked about that role swap in the Reyna now coming into play for Hip instead of the Raze. With the way he played as the Raze, I kind of wish he stuck on that role. Even though Reyna is a little bit better on Ascent than any of the other current maps, I would have liked to see it again. There's the quick shot coming out from Mixwell as the Jet. No surprise there. That's what he's privy to do. And it'll result in a man advantage early in the round here for G2.
Yeah, they break that tripwire, and now that gives a lot of information over to G2. Korea, from a distance, will find Pyjamas. They've already escaped. It's the re-peek now from Hip, as he thinks enough time has passed, but it's the execute for G2. Only person on the site is Rhyme, and he's got a lot of members for G2 starting to funnel in. The headshots, good one after the other. Still one more on the site. Uses the camera. Shot's not going to connect, though, as Pith will be the one that comes out on top, but it's down to the 2v2. An expensive round now for G2, but it is up to Nip to focus on the retake. Resurrection comes in for Artist, so he's back in play as Hip is trying to just ever so slowly move forward through the ice. On the opposite side, of course, it is going to be Korea that is looking to join. A couple of early shots. The spray's good onto Artist, and the great repositioning there for Hip to get back into the mix. It's the fake. Another spray is good. It's down to the 1v2, but it's all along. David P swinging in from behind. Shot's going to be good now, down to the 1v1, and it's all up to Korea. Does not want to swing. A pre-fire shot from David P does not net him the frag, but it's Korea looking to commit. Gets it up to half, but still needs to commit for the second half. And David P's waiting for it, but now here comes the commit. All he needs to do is stick it, but does not have enough time. And it's G2 that win the round. What a close one. NIP almost had that off the back of Hip, but having a look at the replay, Bach, what a round.
I mean, that's actually pretty incredible that that ends up working out for David P. Because if you saw, had Korea just stuck the spike, there was a possibility for NIP to easily win that round. But he gets the spike to halfway and anticipates the late peak coming through from David P. David P, concrete shoes, ice water in his veins. He just waits, holds his position. Then when he hears the second tap, then he flies into position, B-hopping around the corner. There's nothing that Korea can do about it. It's important to note that these two players did at one point in time play against each other in Counter-Strike in a system called Rank S in Europe. So it's possible that some tendencies of those players in those types of scenarios was read there by David P. Also possible that David P just has a bigger brain than any of us and understands that it's likely going to be a half tap coming in from Korea in the 1v1.
Yeah, you know, we ourselves are not the pros. It's very difficult to say what anyone would have done in that scenario. And for Korea, he thought that was the correct call. Unfortunately, did not go well for them. Hip did a great job of finding some open kills onto the site as we look to G2 now, looking for an opportunity again towards A, but no one's there. Rhyme's already out of the picture, and so is Fearoth. All that's left is Korea, who's just joined the site, and he has no clue where any of these G2 members are, so just holding close towards the generator. Sometimes the swing to the right will work out well. The swing to the left does, but it's Mixwell that'll quickly be there for the refrag. Now, up to Hip and Lucker in the 2v4. Resurrection available, so they might be able to get at least Fearoth back into the mix. He's quite close near the garden. And if they are able to get one more res, we'll see if that'll be the case. David P, great lurk from a distance. We'll take out Hip, and now just down to Lucker for a shot with the op not going to connect, and Pyjamas will just gun and run him down. 2-5 the scoreline. G2 in a starting to be convincing lead. Oh no. Bach, close your eyes. Close your eyes.
I'm closed. It's all right.
Close.
I can handle
I'll let you
this
know when
one.
it's gone. Yeah.
I can handle this one. I do love the alien reference. I don't know if you spot that. It looks kind of like the baby xenomorph with the cane and top hat from, oh man, what movie is that?
Isn't that?
It's not Alien. Oh my gosh.
Isn't there like a cricket in Pinocchio or something?
Is it Spaceballs where that happens? So in Alien, obviously the alien, the baby xenomorph blasts through the guy's stomach, whatever. I think it's in Spaceballs that a guy in a diner they're in has the alien blast through, and then the alien runs away with a top hat and cane singing a song. That's what that reminded me of, and I feel like maybe that's a subtle homage. Maybe we'll have to ask Riot and some of their developers if they're big fans of the Spaceballs movie. Everyone loves Mel Brooks, and they're probably closer to my age, so I imagine that's the case as well. Artist going to kick things off with a kill over in the B site. Rhyme gunned down through the edge of the wall, hits right around the corner with the Sheriff, but doesn't even need help, or need to help, excuse me, as Fearoth with just a ghost able to make it work. Piff will peek out and initially make contact with Hip. So it is a one-player advantage for G2 as they continue to move towards B. There's only one here. It's Fearoth with the ghost. Nice swing as the dink shot was in onto Mixwell. Somehow able to get that operator under control and connect on the headshot.
Now Lucker trying to make something happen for the team. Make some things happen for the team as well. All down to Kriya. The ADS, unfortunately, not going to work out. Patitic there, and another round on the board for G2, really starting to pile up. Of course, Nip was able to win the first two, but it's been 6 straight since the first gun round for G2. And, you know, there's a lot of question marks coming into this one. Of course, you can predict that G2 are great on Ascent considering their recent success, but you touched on it a little bit later after the desk, how both games went to overtime. And so we'll see if that ends up playing a factor, if Nip are able to really start to catch up earlier on. But let's have a quick look at how this boost play is going to start to come through. It's Lucker that is now going to swing with the op, and it's a shot that's whipped from both sides twice. And as G2 push forward, they will punish some of that early aggression towards the catwalk and as well the middle. It's 2 now down for Nip, and G2, they're feeling strong.
Somehow Fearoth and Rhyme, though, able to get back into the round. Fearoth as well, playing around on that cyber cage over in B, brings it back to even strength. So a little bit interesting there as they go for that take. The spike still hasn't made it onto either site, so there's obviously options here for G2. But with everything that happened early on, you would anticipate at least some semblance of site control for them. So Rhyme and Fearoth now grouping up in spawn, trying to play the 2v2 together. The spike slowly working up into the A site through the tree room. It'll be Mixwell and David P. And Mixwell's going to secure the plant in a moment here as the Jet. 40 seconds left on the clock. And there it is.
I'm wondering if in that case, well, I mean, we've got caster vision. There's no way that you know, but they have the Hunter's Fury. You know what I mean? I wonder if you even just blindly check, okay, are they going to plant towards generator? Are they going to plant towards default? But I think it's actually a little bit more out of the way, planted closer towards the actual door there. But David P will push forward. He's going to find Rhyme. A 4K on the round, and he nods left and right, and it's the English breakfast that gets dunked right on Fearoth there. Another round on the board for G2, and they are feeling themselves.
Tactical crouch. You got to test the keyboard. You know, he's got a new one. Need to make sure that that control key works just okay. That's understandable. I'm kind of wondering when we're going to get some of the background story information. You know, you heard it in a video from Riot about all of these floating maps and this weird aerial distortion, and I want to know what's going on. We saw in that third-person cam that exploding ceiling, the dome, in pieces as it gets paused in some sort of weird chronosphere type scenario in the sky. Makes you wonder if whether or not we're going to get an agent that can do something like that, maybe bend time. Yeah, maybe. Would be interesting.
Listen, probably better that than Shields. I'm sure the entire Valorant
Not
community...
if you ask Veli. Veli created his, what was it, Root? Did you see that? Yeah. His Root character? Yeah. It's like a tree, and he can break a piece of himself off, and has a big shield, moves really slow, can only use a pistol. I personally prefer Moses' approach, which was Trollio. I really hope to see Riot put that into the game. 7 rounds for G2. 3 ults available for both teams. The Omen port on both sides. Reyna's got the Empress. Both have the res, but they've got the Hunter's Fury for G2 in a post-plant scenario that could be pretty powerful. Fearoth around the corner with the Sheriff. Gets a dink shot. Has to follow it up with a shot to the body. Players in this A site, though, being taken out left and right. Lucker using the wall again, this time going up top with the Sheriff. It doesn't work out as well as it has in times with the AWP. But there's Rhyme hitting one shot, make it 2. Rhyme's been so good. They're going to send him into the site as well, and it's now down to 1. It's David P on the other side of the generator as the spike gets secured. Hit. Does he get the timing on the shot right? No. David P narrowly wins the round there for G2, and they continue in similar form. We may have seen them lose the first 2 rounds, but it's been all G2 since then.
Okay, why does it feel like David P is playing like he wants to be signed? He's just fragging out of his mind saying, G2, come on, get it together. Give me that paper, give me that pen, ASAP. Now this observer I can get behind. A little bit of white wine, that could go well with some of your cheese, Bach. What do you think?
I'm not a wine guy.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
No, Bach.
I don't know. It's not for me.
At least you don't like ketchup chips. We can at least.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not a psychopath. I don't understand how that's a thing. Like, that's just a little weird for me. You know what? You really want some strange chips? When you go to England, they have all these strange varieties of chips that I'd never seen before, like king prawn. Who wants shrimp flavored chips? They're crisps, by the way. Don't call them chips. The Brits don't like that. David P. starting to move up into the tree room. There's a couple of bodies building up on short. Nice flash coming out from Kriya, the Paranoia. But it didn't actually result in David P's demise. It was just a dry peek that came through first. So it kept the trade from being a possibility. Hip's going to chime in with one as well over on the B site. So that'll be Artist, who's now on the sideline. Mixwell had the right idea right on the other side of that wire as he goes for it. Ends up getting taken out by Kriya. One of the more promising rounds we've seen from NIP in quite some time.
You know, just great holds on some of those dry peaks that G2 were forced to really push forward. And in some of these instances, they were pushing together. And so I anticipated a refrag or a trade, but it just never ended up coming through. And so, excuse me, now it is building up to be a flawless round. Of course, there are still 2 that remain, and they're locked and loaded. Kriya in a very cheeky spot. He's looking for the trade here from the side of Pith. He's going to find it, but still the 1v4 going to be very difficult for him. Around the corner, he goes through the door, and Hip will gladly guide him towards the light. Now, the last and final round of the half. Very, very important for NIP to win this one. An 8-4 scoreline would give you a lot of round buffer when it comes to that second half. But for G2, if they win this, the pistol becomes so much more important for them in the round to follow. They could really build up a huge lead that'll make it difficult for NIP to try to catch up. So we'll see how this round pans out and the round to follow, but keep your eyes as these 2 rounds are going to be very important for both teams.
David B is currently 17-5. That's ridiculous. We saw what he was capable of throughout his run here with Valorant. But this, I think, takes things to a whole different level, as he is just decimating his opposition currently. David P, we spoke about this player just a second ago, gets high on the wall to peek through those grates into the B site, but it doesn't even matter. Artist has got the entries, so they lose everyone on the B site. It's pretty much looking solid right now for G2 until we do see Kriya come through towards mid and get the backstab on one, and a res come through as well from Lucker to bring us back to full strength 3-on-3.
Hunter's Fury is popped, and Kriya now has to get out of a very difficult position. Unfortunately, the TP not going to work out for him. It is starting to look very rough here for NIP. They're looking to push in. One frag will come easy, but there's still a lot more on the money that they need to work through. Firoth getting a little bit more involved, but has to check his blind spot. And so does Lucker, as Artist will find 4 on the round. 3-9 the scoreline of the first half, and now NIP, they've got their due diligence cut out for them. They need to win this pistol, or else things are really going to be scary for them as the rounds will continue to lay on for G2.
Look what you did, referencing ketchup chips. You've now created a chip-based debate, potentially, in chat, and you've also drawn the ire of Vansili, fellow Canadian, for speaking ill of the ketchup chips.
No, listen. Okay, listen. My top 3 chips, here they are. Doritos Nacho Cheese, it's a classic. Canadian Ruffles All Dressed. If you're not a Canadian, you don't know what I'm talking about. And Kettle Cooked Honey Dijon. Those top 3 are good. They're amazing. I've had this debate before with my friends, and now I'm bringing 12,000 people into the debate as well. All we can agree on as a unit, as a collective, is that ketchup chips, they're not delicious. I'm sorry.
No love for the Doritos spicy sweet chili. Those are actually fantastic.
Those are good too. No, those are good too. That's like my number 4, but I gave my top 3, you know? There's a space for them in my top 5. Yeah.
There's the Rain of Flash to lead them in. The Lear tries to open up the site, and the defense currently crumbling under the pressure as the take comes through from NIP, and it looks fantastic. Mixwell up in heaven, trying to shift past that ice, slowly crawling his way. It's painful even to watch. Does have the dash to get back. Somehow catches Rhyme. Wasn't prepared for the repeat coming in. The smoke's going to go down as well. The Owl drone doesn't do its job as it gets taken out initially. David P has found one. They're making this look easy, but there's a decent crossfire setup working out right now. It's David P in the one-on-one against Fearoth. The dart's going to give away the position. The defuse is in, but he hears the footsteps, so he knows David P has pulled off the spike. David needs to find another big clutch. It's not going to happen today. NIP survive a chaotic pistol round on the A site. Fearoth not going to go for the dunks. Doesn't feel it right now.
Yeah, he was looking for the orange Pico there, but unfortunately he'll save that for another round. They needed to win the pistol, and they did exactly that. Tip my hat over to NIP, but unfortunately there's still a lot more rounds to go, and they have 5 exactly to catch up. This, of course, likely to be a good one if G2 do not decide to force up, and judging by what they've got and what they're working with, likely not going to be the force up for them. Going to stick to the classics. We've seen that on Bind as well. They'll just stick to keeping it at brass tacks and load up in the rounds to come, because they can afford to bleed rounds. They don't really have nothing to worry about. It's when we start getting close that things will get scary, and so far we're not at that point yet. So the push comes in. Lear as well will push off some of those members a little bit further back. Artis manages to make things work with the classic. Finds 2, cannot find the third, but it's already looking expensive as the attack will start to push in. Spike still not down yet, and the defense, they'll actually fall to the spray of Lucker. Just down to one final player. He's got the shorty, but Patidek won't be able to make that shorty sing. So 5-9. We're getting close. Closer and closer for NIP here, but for the side of G2, this is their first gun round, and they can really make it hurt for NIP. If they win this round, it's 10-5, and then they're just so close to match point.
NIP had a decent start, I guess you could say, to this map. You know, they won the pistol in the second round, and then it was all G2 basically from that point on. We saw only a little splash of rounds in there from NIP, but if they can manage to chain a couple of rounds together here on the attack, maybe break the money for G2, there's a chance they can bring this one back. We were talking about it coming into the series because NIP, or G2 for that matter, has had good success on Ascent. And we were asking, are they just an Ascent team? As they go for the push-up catwalk, maybe we'll get that answer. Locker gonna find 2 quick kills, goes for the res, punished by David P, who gets all 3. How does this happen time and time again? David P is just a force to be reckoned with right now, and he's the only player on this team who isn't signed. G2, get out that pen and paper and make it official.
Listen, we saw a lot of teams being signed today. Of course, Complexity and built by gamers. G2, round out your roster with David P. Do we need to say anything else other than his performance in this map alone? You know, I came into this tournament wanting to see some European Sages, and I'm getting exactly that. David P showing me the masterclass of how to be your own Sage main. And he's looking for that last and final frag. I know that he's gunning for it, but Rhyme, I have a feeling, might be meeting his demise quite shortly. David P up in heaven, ready for the swing, but decides to back away, knows that Artis is on the opposite side, as well as Pith. Artis finding that last frag, and it's round number 10 for G2, inching ever so close to that match point.
Ten rounds, double digits right now for G2. Want to force things to that third map if they possibly can, and it would be Split that we'd be ending up on. Look at this beautiful view of these trees over in the tree room on Short. Sun shining down. It's a beautiful day on Ascent, and a beautiful day for G2 as well, as they've gotten just 3 rounds away from closing out the second map despite fumbling away the first one on Bind. I mean, Bind looked really good for NIP. They looked really strong on the map, and it was obvious that it was going to go the way of NIP based on the way it went early on. Pith in the corner right now, pushed up aggressively, starts spraying through that cyber cage, can't quite connect. There's targets building up in that territory, and it's the bee-hopping Rhyme who just gets right up in his face as the Cypher gets around the corner as well to dodge the shots. The trade out not necessarily coming in right away for Patidek. So it's a 4-on-4. But how do they get that Cypher out of that position? Well, the dark cover comes through from the Omen to make it easier.
Yeah, I was wondering, you don't let... Oh! I was just about to say, you don't let Rhyme cross the street. It'll be Patitek that hits him like a truck. And now the attack, of course, down to 3. They're going to be looking towards the B site, but little do they know, this is the correct call. The only person that is within proximity is, of course, Artist. But look at Mixwell. Unfortunately, the tailwind, wrong direction, stuck on the railing by the stairs. Now Artist about to see a stampede of NIP members push in towards this B site. Has the angle set here with the operator. First shot's good. The Dragon spreads its wings, but they will make quick work of that fallen comrade. Already on the site, it's the 2v3 retake, and here come G2.
They're moving into position for the retake, and yeah, that's pretty much easy as David P does what David P does best. A res coming in at the tail end to bring Patitek back into play. I mean, I guess it's a bit of an econ res there coming out, but 11-5 G2. I mean, this is how it got started. That's just straight stupid. You thought for a second he was safe. Wasn't going to end up being the case. David P in the end pushing through from lane, expecting both players to be coming in, or all the players to be coming in from the stairs. Doesn't end up happening that way. So G2 are now 2 rounds away from closing out this second map and forcing us to that third map. And again, no one's eliminated from this. I feel like we have to say that. This just determines seeding going into playoffs. So do not fret, neither team is going to be sent home. And again, this could very likely be our final. So consider this a small taste of what you might see later on in the tournament.
Specifically Sunday, for those of you wondering, Sunday will be the grand final day. David P, come on, David P with 3! Lucker able to take him down finally, but David P just always, somehow on this map, has really shown us his magic. Could be taking us here to match point for G2, and quite honestly, it's looking likely considering the economic position for NIP. Pistols and Sheriffs across the board, and it's just down to 2 now. We've seen Rhyme and Lucker really make quick work of the weapons that they've been given in certain situations, so maybe can expect a couple more frags on the way out, but it's already looking like it's not going to be the case. It's utility galore thrown directly their way. And now NIP have 7 rounds to climb back. Bach, is it possible? Do they have what it takes? Or are G2 truly ready for Ascent? Are they truly that proficient on this map?
Do you want the truth, or do you want what will make a fan of NIP happy? Because the truth is, yes, G2 is going to close this map out, probably right here. NIP has looked very clumsy on the map thus far. If you take away some of their pistol round wins, it pretty much is nothing coming in from them. It's been all G2. They've been controlling this game, and even when the rounds should have been lost, they had individual performance carry them out. Like, look at that. Mixwell inside that smoke, spotted first by Kriya, and even still ends up winning the 1v1. Like, that just shouldn't be the case. The Cypher ult's going to come out, the Neural Theft to give away positions. David P does what David P likes to do, getting aggressive with that wall. We've seen that from some of the European Sages in the past. The smoke's going to come out from the Jet to allow him across. Great team play coming in from G2 so that the Sage can get out of that aggressive position. And there's the ult being popped. We'll see if it ends up resulting in any damage dealt. Pulse is coming down. Not going to necessarily be the case, so nothing really working out well there. Hip. Oh, the timing goes for the spike pickup. That's a problem. David P comes through B main, drops the spike, and makes the round that much harder for NIP.
Mixwell now, all they really need to do is just hold this spike down. David P and Mixwell, they've got a great cross. As the attacker looking for maybe more control of the other side of the map, but at this point it may be just too little too late. All down to one final player. It's Fearoth. He finds David P. But my player to watch, Mixwell, finding the last and final frag for G2 to take us to map number 3, Split.
You know,